Welcome to your Chapter 29 review. This is Coach Trammell. I gave you this sheet. It's a great sheet to look at, kind of get you started. What I want you to do is to hit pause and try to answer as many of these as you can. If you still have the sheet, that's awesome. If not, and then I'll scroll down here in a second. Try to answer as many of these as you can, and we'll go over each one. Hit pause now. Starting off with number one, Descendum est. Ask ourselves, what kind of word is that? That is a gerundive. When I say nd plus be equals must be, that's a gerundive. When I add est, we get a passive periphrastic. So nd must be. Nd must be. When I get tres mensis, that's an accusative of time. So that tells me for how long. So for 3 months. Medio nocta, that's another time word. This time it's ablative of time. That tells me time when something happened. So it's in the middle of the night. Missy is a trick word. This is a trick one. Because if I think of mito, I get mito, and then I get mitera, and then I get misi. You may think that's a typo for misi, but it's not. It's actually the plural form of misus, which is our perfect passive participle. So in this case, it's having been sent or sent. Next we have monobomb. We see the BA. BA is was or were. It's not passive voice, so it's not going to be A, it's going to be C. I was advising. Next we have what tense am I? Ingressus. Don't forget, that's a tricky one. It is, we know for sure, perfect. But that's that ingredior word, so it's perfect and active. But what tense it is perfect tense. So ingressus is perfect. Next one, adewissit. And the third one, coerit. This is very important that you're able to distinguish between the pluperfect subjunctive, D for number 2, and the imperfect subjunctive for coerit number 3. Remember, we tell by looking at the infinitives. Coera is a present active infinitive. It has that re. Adewissit is a perfect active infinitive. It has the isse. I add a t to each one of those to get the imperfect subjunctive and the pluperfect subjunctive. Menendum, that's another nd must be word. That is a future active or future passive participle, also known as a gerundive. Monent is just a nice little present tense verb. You're going to get plenty of these translate me type of sentences on your test. And it's important that you make sure that you're very, very specific when it comes to the translation. So go 1 through 5, make sure you answer those, and let's see how you did. Here are your answers. Number 1, we're looking for passive voice because of TUR. We get the passive voice with the being mock. Remember, we're going to need a form of be plus an ed to create the passive voice. Same thing on number 2. I'm looking for the passive voice because of the bator. Ba is imperfect. I get the was or were no matter what, but the be plus the ed form heard is going to give me the correct answer. Same thing number 3. I'm looking for passive. Both of them have a was and is plus the ed form. Both of them have. So I'm basically looking for the right tense. In this case, I do not have a ba, so I'm dealing with be, present tense. Number 4, this one right here is just a big old mess, but this is what we're looking at. His collected things. Down here on the bottom, there's nothing for collected. B, a little tricky. Both of them look pretty close. The difference is one of them has a relative and a plural soothsayer. The other one has a singular soothsayer and has a purpose clause. This is our relative purpose clause. Qui is being used as a so that, or to, and here speaking is singular. That's why we get a singular soothsayer. Type of clauses, also very important for tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of subjunctives on there. Make sure that you know what a purpose, result, an indirect question, indirect command, cum clause, relative purpose clause, and a participle and an ubi purpose clause. Make sure you know what each one of those entails. I underlined each one or made a mark next to each thing that matters in order to tell what is what. In number one, I get a questioning, or I get a speaking questioning word, plus I get a question word in Quomodo. That is our indirect question. And number two, desperans is the only thing in there that really matters. That is a participle. In number three, I get ubi plus the subjunctive. And I need to ask myself, is it a purpose clause or is it a question, indirect question? In this case, I translated, I was wanting to buy a house so that, because I get the so that, I know it's a purpose clause. Number four, I have a ordering word in pursuavit plus ut, that's an indirect command. And then finally I get one down here, number five, with qui plus a subjunctive. Again, I have to ask myself, is that a question or is that purpose? In this case, if the priest summoned the soothsayer to inspect the entrails, that I'm dealing with purpose. Next up, you're going to get a map of the forum, and you're going to be asked, where's the Curia, where's the Rostra, where's the Carcer, where's the Via Sacra, where's the Basilica Julia, where's the Basilica Aemilia, and where's the Temple of Vesta. The map will look very similar to this, and you're going to be able to match each one of these places with the words that I have surrounding. So see if you guys can figure those out. So we have the Curia, that'd be that little building right here. We have the Rostra. Rostra is that little curvy guy. This little curvy guy right in here. This little curvy guy right here. Curved steps right in there. The prison is going to be located over in that area, little prison area. We have the Via Sacra. That's the name of the road going into, the entire road going into the Colosseum, or to the Forum, sorry. You have the Basilica Aemilia. The Basilica Aemilia is this big building right here. And the Basilica Julia is exactly opposite of it, down here. That leaves the Temple of Vesta. The Temple of Vesta is this little creature right there. So once again, I have the Curia, I have the Rostra, I have the prison, Carcer, I have the Via Sacra, I have the Basilica Aemilia, and the Basilica Julia, and the Temple of Vesta. Places of description in the Forum, Forum Romanum, below the Capitoline Hill. Milarium Arium, that is our golden milestone. That's right next to, at the base of the Forum. Basilica is basically meeting places on each side of the Forum. You have the Aemilia on top. You had the Basilica Julia on the bottom. Curia, that is our court. That's where people would go to argue their cases. Rostra, that's where you would have public speakers. That's your speaker's platform. Capitoline Hill is the home of the Temple of Jupiter. Palatine Hill would be the place where the emperor lives. Temple of Vesta is a small, round little building with a cone-shaped roof where the Vestal Virgins tend the sacred flame, the Ignis Sacra. Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus is the center of the Roman religion. That building stands on the top of the Capitoline Hill. People and places. Domitian, of course, is the brother of the recently deified emperor. Lazarus is the leader of the Jews at Masada. That's the story that we read, the mother retelling the story of Masada. Gaius Flavius Liberalis is the patron of the chief builder in Rome. Lucius Flavius Silva is a Roman leader. He's the one that's at Masada. Josephus is a historian. He wrote the account of Masada. The Latini were people who inhabited central Italy in the 8th century BC, kind of the origin of Rome. Romulus is the legendary founder of, or the mythical founder of Rome. The Palatine is the site of first settlement in the Roman area. Cloaca Maxima is the well, I guess it's kind of like what drains into the marshy area between the hills of Rome. The Tiber is the river which Rome, on which, or about which the city of Rome was built. English vocab of interest. Acquiesce, that is to comply without protest. Circumvent is to avoid, to work around something. Coronation is the act of crowning a ruler. Discourse is the course of like verbal exchange. Dolorous is a full of anguish or sorrow. A farrier is a blacksmith who works with iron. It's somebody who would shoe your horses. Odious is like offensive or hateful. Servile is slavish in manner. Translucent, it allows some light to come through. And to revive is to bring back life. The Latin vocab I can leave to you to look up at your leisure. I would look up every one of those words. They're very important. Some other aspects of the culture that's going to be, how did the Romans leave the city of Jerusalem? They left it in ruins. What did they leave untouched? Nothing. They even destroyed the temples. How did Jews react after Roman invasion was complete? They took off. They headed to, some of them were enslaved, but the ones that resisted, that made it out, went to Masada, which is kind of this massive rock that was almost impenetrable. Who was the leader of the Jews? That was Elijah ben Yair. How did the Romans overcome obstacles at Masada? They actually built a ramp to climb the rock. We would call that a rampart. What pact did the Jews at Masada make with their leaders? That they would not be enslaved. He convinced them, Elijah Yazir convinced them to kill themselves rather than be enslaved. What emperor was in power during the attack? That was Titus. How many survivors were there from the attack? Well, according to our textbook, there are only 8, but there were several survivors from the attack that were enslaved. Many more than 8. What commander led the assault? That was Domitian. So Titus was the ruler at the time. Domitian was the leader. Don't forget that. Well, there you go. Short and sweet. Along with the review you had in class today. Should be good.